Well, hello, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Dating and Bright, the podcast. We are not affiliated or endorsed by Brightline Eating, and all content presented in this podcast represents our personal opinions and does not represent medical, nutritional, or psychological professional advice.
Okay, what are we talking about? That needs to be on my shirt. It's not.
Yeah, we need merch. We need merch that says, "What are you talking about?"
What are we
talking about?
Love languages. Okay.
No, I know.
Well,
I was thinking like, I was thinking about merch, and I was thinking like, is there a way, like, like, instead of doing like, what are we talking about? Like, sorry guys,
aside, tangent.
my brain. What are we talking about? Like, WHADDA. What are we?
No.
Okay. JK. Never mind.
Wada? What? No. Okay. Hashtag no, not an acronym. We do love a good acronym, but not that one. WAWTA.
I'm saying the way you spell "what are we," making it like a mashup, like WHADDAWA. Like, what are we?
WWTA.
Not like,
oh my gosh.
not like, what would Jesus do? WWJD. That's what you thought I meant. What are we talking about?
Yes.
I'm totally gonna do it now. Hey. What
Wawata.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
Okay.
please begin. It's ridiculous. But I love how we laugh together. Mostly he's just laughing at me.
What are we talking about?
Love languages.
Love languages. Okay. Well, hello, and thank you for tuning to another episode of Dating and Bright, the podcast. This is episode 12. Well, how many fingers are you putting up? Okay, I'm going to put up 5. Patty's going to put up 7. 5 and 7 equals 12. Did I do good math?
Yes,
you proud of me?
We need to learn cribbage so the boys get math too.
I'm really bad at math, guys. Okay, so yes, I am. So we are going to talk about love languages today, and what's significant about this is we feel like what we thought were our love languages maybe aren't anymore, or that they've evolved and changed.
Definitely.
I was like, there's a question mark at the end. Is that?
I believe so,
Okay.
because my I mean, we're gonna get right into it, right? My love language. No, sorry, we're not.
Let's talk about
coffee break.
No, not coffee break. What we're gonna do is let's talk about the 5 love languages are, in case people
that.
don't know what the
Of
5
course. Did you know there's 5 love languages? Actually, I think there's 7, but there's 5 main ones.
Sure. Okay, so we're gonna do 5. We're gonna do 5. We're gonna simplify this. So words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch. So those are the 5.
And these are when, your kids are little, they seem to have one, although play is a big love language for kids, I think. But it goes all through relationships and parental relationships and how, friends.
Well, and generally you tend to speak one love language and want to receive another. And sometimes those are the same thing. Sometimes that is the same thing, but some people speak a different love language than they receive, and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're talking about here in the realm of those are the 5 love languages that we're going to talk, that we think that, are the most significant, and how they look in our lives, or how they used to look in our lives, and how they are in our lives now.
Funny word, but yeah, and we talked about this early in our
we did dating. Very, very early.
Yeah, and we came honestly, we just said what our love languages were. I think I asked you first, what is your love language? And it was kind of the second question, but yeah. What is your love language? And
So the answer to the question when she asked me this before, and this was prior to us ever having met in person.
yes,
So let's put that piece of it into it. So this was when
pre-declarations even.
before we had told each other how we felt about each other. Yes. So I would have said that the love language that I like to receive is words of affirmation, and that the love language that I speak is gifts.
That is what you told me.
Yes.
And that was true.
It
That
was.
was true because she received my words of affirmation very,
Mm.
very lovingly. You gobbled it up
Yes.
and definitely love giving gifts.
I do love giving.
Yeah, I think you still love giving gifts.
I do. And that's, we'll talk about how things have changed, or shifted, or maybe there's secondary love languages that weren't there before, or whatever the case might be. But that's definitely for me. Like, I think that I like, I love birthdays. I love Christmas. I love the holidays where you get to give gifts. Like, it's not about getting gifts, it's about giving gifts for me. Like, that's just always been just really fun to me to see like the kids open up something and be really excited about it, or knowing that like I picked out just the perfect thing for somebody and watching them, open it and get excited about it. Like, that's just always been, it's been a way that I have enjoyed speaking love.
And I think you do it well.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
And you?
Oh no, I was the same both ways. And it was words of affirmation coming and going. And I stated that outright. And it's nice. It was nice that it meshed, that the love language that I spoke was one that you like to receive.
Mhm.
But I think that even if you didn't feel that that was the language that you spoke, I felt it. And maybe that was because we were long distance at this point. I mean,
Mhm.
we weren't even really, in a relationship.
No,
We were
no,
just
no.
talking.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I felt words of affirmation coming from you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think the reality is that you can use all of the love languages. It's not like you're, just, but I think that tends to be one that you gravitate towards more, when it comes to the giving and the receiving. So,
Mhm.
I think that for me, the words of affirmation was one of those things that I knew it even from, my work life. Like, that's the way I like to be praised. Like, I don't get me wrong, like, I will always take more money and I will always take a title, but I also, like, if my boss told me I was doing a good job, that would go miles. It would go miles for me just to hear the words said, and to be affirmed. And I've actually had that conversation with my current boss has been my boss for 5 years. Her and I have had that conversation many times over, that she knows that I'm like, that's what I need to feel appreciated. I need to hear you say that I'm doing a good job. So yeah, it's just knowing that about myself. So.
And I'm in the same way because in my previous life, I was a poker dealer for many years. I mean, I was in charge of poker dealers for a long time, but way back when I dealt, it's all about tips. When you're a poker dealer, you make minimum wage and you get tips, you earn tips, and that's really your livelihood is tips. So it's all about the money that you make. But I always said that, because it's a tough business where I cut my teeth as a poker dealer, and there was a lot of abuse and a lot of anger and a lot of people losing a lot of money and feeling a certain way about that, and you're on the brunt end of it. But I always felt like it doesn't matter how much money I made on the table. If I got up from my dealing time at that table and somebody said, "Wow, you run a really good game, Patty," that was everything. It didn't matter how much money I made on that table. If somebody said I ran a good game, that meant the world to me. And so that was something I knew, is that words of affirmation is just the gasoline to my engine.
Hmm.
And I still think it is to an extent.
Sure, 100%. Like, I still
And I say that
will
often,
receive.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah,
to hear
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
At the same time,
yes,
yes.
this is the really big but. This is the really interesting thing, is that I would have probably said physical touch was
Mm.
the last love language that I would ever look to, giving or receiving, interestingly enough. Like, it was not, it just wasn't part of my vernacular. It wasn't what I spoke. It wasn't what I received. And I think it's significant that the first time we ever met in person, our embrace lasted for quite a long time.
At least 15 minutes. And that's a long time
Surprisingly,
in
that the
Georgetown
cops, yeah,
Airport.
the cops didn't move us along. They let us do it.
And if you know, you know about John Wayne Airport, they do not let you hang out there much long in the loading and unloading area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was instantaneous for both of us.
Yeah.
And the entire time we were together. And even still to this day,
Yeah.
if we
She
are
just
near
raised
each
up our
other,
hands. We're holding hands.
yeah,
So
we are in physical contact. And
yeah.
I think that it's something that we speak regularly when we come apart, when we come back together. We are touching and holding hands, arm behind the back, I mean, just the physical act of touching. And I've never had that or, needed that like I have from another person. Like I crave your touch.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that the sexual touch isn't there. That's not it. It's just the act of touching and being in contact. And skin to skin. Like, I mean, I'll touch your back and through clothes, but I want to feel your skin and be in your presence. And it's just such a weird feeling because I've never felt this way before. So I think that's one of the things where we knew we were with the right person.
Well, we knew something was different. I think that's the big thing because moving into, going from not having ever met in person, like having expressed these feelings for one another. And then it was a whole month in between that happening and us actually getting to meet in person. And, I remember the multiple conversations we had leading up to that about, is it going to change? Yeah. What if once we get together, like there's no physical attraction? Like, what if we don't, that doesn't work or whatever the case might be. And it's, we had those conversations. And then like when the moment occurred, I mean, there was no doubt in either of our minds that it was real and that it was there. But just so interesting to me too, that it's like, I've never wanted, and it's funny because like I do physical touch with my kids a lot. Like I realize that I do that a lot. Like we hug and we kiss and like, that's important to me. Like hugging them and kissing them before they leave the house or, Aiden before he gets on the school bus, rubbing their back, like, putting arms around each other. Like we do that, we do that physical touch, but I've never done it with with a romantic partner to the level that you and I do. And like Patty said, it's like if we're close, even in the car driving, like we have to be holding hands or whatever. And so I've never felt this way before and felt like it's an absence if it's not, like if we're sitting close to each other and not touching each other.
What's going on?
Yeah, like it's a weird absence. So yeah, I think that's definitely like the physical touch has moved.
Yeah. And when we came together that day, March 6th, not that we're, marking that, we did mark it.
We
very
marked
well.
it.
We talked to our friend Hannah and she told me what the magnets were, those really strong magnets that like have a warning on them, like don't put your finger between them because they're coming together. That's how we felt.
Yeah.
We felt that we were just hurtling
Drawn
towards each other. And it wasn't even like just a regular refrigerator magnet. It was, we came together and it took a lot to pull us apart. And I don't think
that
there's
was
a force out there that can pull us apart.
Well, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, like the leaving was so difficult, when
every time
we came together and then we'd have to part. It was really, I mean, gut-wrenching. Yeah, gut-wrenching to have to walk away from one another. Even, and I'm sure people, I can hear the eye rolls now, but like, we'd be like, no, you leave. No, you leave. No, you leave. Like we didn't want to be the one to have to walk away.
Mm-mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's been so much different. And really like I think words of affirmation is still, definitely up there for me. It's something I still crave and want. And, I'm thankful that that is the love language that you speak very readily. So that is fulfilled in me very, very well. Um, but yeah, physical touch is definitely there too. So
Definitely high up there.
yeah, I don't give as many gifts as I used to.
No. But and I think that's indicative of that, physical touch is high on there
Yeah.
because I'm not feeling the need to give gifts either. And I think I gave some pretty good
Yeah,
gifts.
you did.
So
Yeah. Yeah. But and I think it's interesting. I mean, I haven't done a lot of reading or research on the love languages. I just kind of know what they are and like how to identify them. But I wonder what the research is on that, like them shifting and changing with the relationship, based on maybe, but even based on the other person's needs,
mm,
or our own needs. Who knows?
yeah. But I mean, it's not like you're craving physical touch from your boss.
No, that would be weird.
Yeah. So maybe it's relational as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's like I said, it's indicative of this is my person
Right.
and we felt like we knew each other in another life. And that wasn't something that one of us said. I mean, both of us feel like
Yeah.
we've known each other for longer than this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think that when we came together, that we just needed to be together and to be touching. And I don't think it's weird at all, or that it's like, oh, you have to be, like, oh, that's just, no, I think it's just natural that
Yeah.
I want to be touching you.
It was not this last month, but the month before, we had to get together in our home of a bunch of BLEers, and we ended up sitting across from each other.
The first time we were next to each other and it was wonderful and everything was good. That was the first one. The second one, we ended up across the room and
Yeah, we
weird.
didn't touch the whole time because we were sitting across from, and it was just like, when people got settled in, it was like where we ended up because of conversations that were
There were like 11
happening.
people here and then we were in the living room.
Yeah.
It was just the way,
It's just the way it happened. It wasn't
complicated. Conscious
it wasn't,
or-
yeah, it wasn't like we weren't wanting to sit next to each other. It's just the way it happened. And it was just funny because afterwards we both were like, that was weird. We can't do that again. So then this last month we were like, nope, we got to sit next to each other so that we could touch the whole time.
And
So
thank you, Bonnie, because Bonnie was about to sit next to me and I was like, oh, Megan's sitting there. She's like, oh, let me sit somewhere else. And it was very natural for her. And I appreciate that, Bonnie.
Yes,
So
Bonnie
because
knows.
We had that conversation.
Bonnie knows what's up.
She does.
Yeah.
By the
So
way, we have that Ziploc, that thing for you, Bonnie. We should have given it to you last Saturday. Sorry. Total aside.
yes, total aside. We have Bonnie's Tupperware and she's worried about giving it back in the middle of the podcast. Okay, guys, there we go. Love you.
Love you too.
So I think it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah. What do you think the boys' love languages is? Do you think it's play?
Oh, that's interesting. I definitely think Malcolm is physical touch because he, especially like he wants to become comforted that way. And even when he's feeling like feisty, like that's how he wants to be feisty is physically. Like, so I think his is physical touch for sure. Aiden's, that's harder for me. I don't know.
I think it might be words of affirmation.
Yeah, that's true. He might be words of affirmation.
What are the other one? Acts of love,
Acts of service,
acts of service, gifts,
quality time.
quality time. It might be
Quality time.
It might be
Yeah, quality time might be Aiden's. That might be it for
Yeah.
sure. Because he really just, and that's something that I think I have to pay more attention to because one of my mastermind group members, Carla, her love language that she likes to receive is quality time. Is everything okay?
I don't know, the fire was way up. There's
Oh. We have our niece and her friends are out in the backyard with a campfire. So if you were listening to last week's episode, yeah, we're still in the same night. They're still out there. Anyway, but Carla's love language that she likes to receive is quality time. And so hearing her describe that and like talk about that because it's not ever and not like I don't like quality time. Like I don't mean to sound like that, but when she talks about it, when she describes it, I'm like, yeah, like I can understand why that she wants that and why that's her love language. And so, yeah, thinking through the things that she's described, that probably is also Aiden's because he craves that attention. that one-on-one that
In what he's doing, and even Stephanie, our niece, said that, is that, he wants to watch Minecraft.
he wants you to
YouTube.
watch him play, like,
Yeah,
or he
you wanna
wants you
watch
to,
me play
or he
Minecraft?
wants you to sit down and watch something with him because he wants to spend time with you and he wants to have a conversation with you about it. And he wants, he wants that quality time. So that probably is it probably is. I mean, words of affirmation might be too, but, that's really interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Knowing that going forward.
Yeah,
helps.
that could definitely help, like thinking that through,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that he's receptive to. So it is very interesting. But we thought we would share. We thought you guys, out there might be interested from a relationship perspective that yeah, and this kind of, it's interesting because we didn't even hearken this back to what we've learned about attachment style and how we relate attachment wise.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there's something in that too. So,
Yeah.
especially the words of affirmation, I think with the anxious attachment style, like
Mhm.
that makes sense that those would go hand in hand because the anxiously attached partner is typically looking for some kind of affirmation,
Right.
so that actually makes a lot of sense, that we both would have that and that we both can identify sometimes as having anxious attachment.
Right.
So,
Right. Now, how do we relate this back to Bright?
oh
Because this is a
gosh,
dating and Bright
it is dating
episode.
and bright. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, we could, that's so funny. Obviously, we don't talk about any of this before we do it, guys. We just have these conversations.
Cuff, people.
It is off the cuff. But I think the thing that we can talk about here is that having your relationship needs met helps to not look for those needs elsewhere. And one of those things being food, like not looking for the comfort in food because you're having your relational needs met because you understand what your love language is and giving and receiving.
Do you think that added to your food addiction, is not getting your
Yes.
needs met?
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm. Me too.
Yeah, I think that it was a coping mechanism for me, to numb out and to not have to feel those unmet needs, in my relationship. And so, yeah, words of affirmation was not ever something that I received
Mm.
from that relationship. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to be tipping those scales.
Well, and it's interesting too because I was still in that relationship when I joined Brightline Eating and became Bright and made that shift in my life. So
And that was hard too, because you stopped your numbing
it was hard.
capability, your numbing coping strategies there,
Yes.
and realized that you weren't getting what you needed.
Right. Yeah. Yep. For sure. So I think that that's the way that you can relate back to brightness for sure is that, if you're using food for coping, which I was, and Patty,
I was.
yeah, we both were, that examining your relationship, and if your needs are being met and what those needs are. I mean, like, I think identifying those needs are huge. Like knowing that like I said, I think it was really pivotal in my work. Because I can remember the day I had the conversation with my boss. It's like, I'm a words of affirmation girl and you don't ever tell me I'm doing a good job. She's like, well, I think you're doing a good job. I'm like, you need to say it more because that's what I need to feel like I'm doing a good job. Right.
And it's so funny because words of affirmation are mine too. And I'm like, doesn't everyone need to hear that? Doesn't everyone need to hear from their boss they're doing a good job? But I guess that they don't.
I think some people that's just not they don't need it. It's not necessary. But I think it's not, especially for my boss, it's not her nature. It's not in her nature. It's not in her second nature to use that as a language, a love language. She's a gift giver. She gives gifts.
She does.
Yes, she likes to give gifts. And so, I think that's the love language that she speaks more readily. And, I, she's learning. We're all learning. So, I mean, she does a better job of words of affirmation now, which is great. So, but knowing what your needs are and how to get your needs met and how to ask
for what you need is huge. And I think that's something that we're learning every day is to ask for what we need and to be.
Well, and it's so funny
trusting that
because we talk
someone's
about
going to be open to that story
Right.
to speak over you, but
no, but we talk about that in our relationship. It's like, it's like, what do you need right now? Oh, I just need to be held. Like, I mean, we have those conversations, it's like, I'm having a hard day. What do you need? Do you need, what are the things
do
that
you
you
need to be
say?
held, helped, or
Heard.
heard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like, sometimes it's just like, I just need to be held, or
heard.
heard. Yeah. So I think just understanding what your needs are and how to ask for them and how to advocate for yourself, which is another bright line. It's another bright lineism for sure, is because we have to do a lot of advocating for ourselves in the program. So
Definitely food wise.
yeah, well,
And
yeah,
to
for
be
sure.
comfortable in yourself to say, you know what, I don't eat sugar, I don't eat
Yeah.
flour, and I need you to take care of me. If you want to go out in the world, I mean, you can do that for yourself in
Yeah.
in your bubble as much as you can. But if you want to be out in the world with other people, you need to be secure in that and be able to advocate for yourself, or it's going to be hard for you to keep your bright lines.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if there's any takeaways today, it's, figure out what your love language is and then talk to the people in your life and let them know so that they understand how to best meet your relationship needs. So continue to learn and grow.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't know.
I think we did it.
We did it.
And
We're all
I
done.
think we're good. That's episode 12.
That is episode 12, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you. We appreciate your support. So have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Love you.
And the coffee is gone.
That was perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. No more coffee. And that's the show. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to contact us, you can email us at pattyandmegan@gmail.com or hit us up on any of our socials. Have a beautiful, bright day.